welcome to today's session on IR theory. Uh, Today we will be discussing about classical realism. But before I start talking about classical realism, let me tell you something about international relations. In the past lectures, we have seen that international relations is the study of relationship and interaction between countries, states, including national governments, but it also includes relations between or policy towards international governmental organizations, various organizations like United Nations, NGOs and MNCs. It is both a theoretical as well as a practical discipline, with academic approaches being empirical or normative. International relations became a discipline in the early 20th century. International relations is important because more than 8 billion people, which is the population of the world today, they live in nearly 200 states, and their life is greatly affected by the state in which they live. So, states are very central to human beings' life, whether it is political, economic, cultural or others. So, it impacts every aspect of their life. States are sovereign, but they are also interconnected, they are interdependent, they coexist for both security as well as prosperity. Modern international relations is thought to have emerged sometimes in the 16th, 17th century with the emergence of modern nation states. Many developments including Renaissance, Reformation, emergence of sovereign states which were called nation states under all-powerful monarchs, enlightened despots during the 16th and 17th century were important landmarks in the evolution of states as we see them today. A very important date or year was 1648, when the Treaty of Westphalia was agreed upon, was concluded among European states, and by this they accepted each other as sovereign equals. They also regarded the internal affairs of each state to be the sole purview within the purview of the monarchs. So, this is how 1648 is sometimes considered as the beginning of modern state system. Later on, many of these states who during 17th, 18th or 19th century were not really independent, many of them were colonized by European countries. All of them started becoming independent in the 20th century. So, the scope of international relations greatly expanded during the 19th and the 20th centuries. The core concern of international relations, of course, is war and peace. One can say this is the central problem in international relations. The relations between states and among states, how they manage their relations, how they try to achieve security as well as prosperity. These are some of the important concerns of international relations today. Among the more contemporary concerns of IR, one can mention economic interdependence, human rights, transnational corporations, international organizations, environment, gender inequalities, economic development and underdevelopment, international terrorism and many more. So, these are some of the contemporary concerns of international relations. as we have seen, the core of international relations is political relation between states. International studies or world politics has been studied by different traditions and approaches. The most important of these have been realism, liberalism, international society approach, and international political economy. There are alternative approaches such as social constructivism, feminism, Marxism. One can say that there have been four major debates in international relations in the last 1 century, especially after the end of the First World War. The first was between the utopian liberals and realism. The second was between traditional approaches and behavioralism. The third was neoliberalism or neorealism and neo-Marxism. And one can count the fourth as the one between established traditions and the post-positivist alternatives. Liberal idealism was the first, one can say, approach which became popular during and after the First World War. Woodrow Wilson, the American president, was a great votary and supporter of liberal internationalism or liberal idealism, and he sought to achieve it through peaceful cooperation among states, through organizations like League of Nations. But it was realized that this approach, or even the League of Nations, did not produce the desired peace. Germany, Italy, Japan, they began to speak language which is typical of classical liberalism, the language which has been spoken by thinkers from the ancient Greek period, Thucydides, to modern thinkers like Machiavelli, to Hobbes, Morgenthau, and others. For them, power was the central concern. E.H. Carr has been considered as one of the very important theoreticians of modern realist school. Modern realism basically talks about a struggle between conflicting interests of states and people. So, contrary to the liberal view, they have a very pessimistic view of human nature and about the state system. They believe that human beings are basically selfish, they are prone to conflict, and therefore the states which are based on individuals, which has been created by humans who have self-interest and selfishness as their core concern, these states are also influenced by these characteristics. There is a conviction in the realist school that international relations or relations between states is basically conflictual, and international conflicts are ultimately resolved by war. All states try to maximize their security, their national interest, and in this process they sometimes take recourse to war. National security and state survival is the core concern of all states according to realist thinkers. So, whether it is E.H. Carr or other realist thinkers, E.H. Carr is important because he was the first who came out with a critique of liberal internationalism or idealism, which was popular during the first 2 or 3 decades of the 20th century, but which, according to E.H. Carr, failed to produce either international peace or international cooperation. The basic realist ideas and assumptions are, in fact, there is a basic skepticism about both domestic and international politics. Uh, all humans and similarly all states, they strive to have an edge over the others. They have a desire to enjoy the advantages over others. They want to avoid domination by others, and at the same time they try to dominate others. So these fundamental assumptions and these fundamental facts about human nature and the nature of the state system that determines human relations and to a much greater extent the relations between states. Among the classical realists, one can count Thucydides, Machiavelli, Hobbes and Morgenthau. All of them basically believe that acquisition and possession of power and the deployment and uses of power are key objectives of a political activity. Whether it concerns the individual or the states, they try to possess, to acquire and to maximize power. And they also try to deploy, use all aspects of power in order to achieve their political objective, in order to achieve the desire for security, the desire for domination. International politics, therefore, is basically power politics, an arena of rivalry, of conflict and of war among states, between states. Defending the national interest and ensuring survival, security and prosperity of its people is the core concern of all states. And these states form the international system. The core assumptions of realists are that international state system is anarchic, that there is no higher authority or there is no world government which can control or mediate the relation between states. Here they try to make a distinction. They believe that when it comes to domestic politics, the state is there which is sovereign, which has absolute power over all the citizens, over all the individuals who live within the territory of the state. So the state can control their anarchic nature, the conflict among individuals, among the citizens. But when it comes to the international arena, there is no preeminent actor, there is no world government, there is no higher authority which all states recognize. And in the absence of any higher authority or world government, there is no permanent peace in relations between states. And IR is primarily about relations among states. Foreign policy, when it comes to foreign policy, the realists believe that the core concern and the core objective, the primary goal of all foreign policy is to defend the interest of the state. States are, and most importantly, and which is something very critical to understanding the relations among states and between states is the fact that states are not equal. Just as individuals are not equal, states are also not equals. Greek thinkers, starting from Aristotle downwards, many others, have believed that individuals or human beings are naturally unequal. And this inequality between the individuals, among the individuals, leads to creation of a higher authority to govern and manage the relations among individuals, and that higher authority is the state or the government. But when it comes to states, uh, they have no higher authority. But states are not, all of them are not equal. There is power differential between them. There are great powers, there are strong states, and there are weak states. And the behavior of strong and weak states are very different. International relations is best understood as a struggle between great powers for security and domination. So, while great powers strive for more security as well as domination, the weaker states also want security, they also want to achieve security, but they employ different mechanisms and methods in order to achieve security. And of course, domination is not their objective. Domination is the objective of great powers, of the more powerful states, not of the weaker states. The normative core of realism is the basic norm which realism feels determines the action of states or influences relations between states is national security and state survival. So, these are the basic norms, these are the basic concerns, these are the basic determinants of state action and of relations between states and among states. States are, of course, very essential for security as well as for good life of the citizens. If states are not there, then life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish and short, as Thomas Hobbes very rightly said in the 17th century. So, states are very essential for human survival. Individuals come together and create a state which is so essential for their security and for their survival, for good life and for prosperity. National interest is the final arbiter of foreign policy. According to realists, national interest is what determines and what guides the foreign policy of all states. They also believe that treaties, conventions, customs and rules, international laws, these are not something which are permanent. These are only expedient arrangements which are arrived at to achieve limited objectives, but they are not there for all times to come. States often do flout these conventions, these treaties, these norms or agreements or rules of behavior when their national interest is not fulfilled. The realists also believe that there can be no progressive change in world politics comparable to domestic political life. In domestic political life, there can be progressive changes. the state, the government which is sovereign is able to achieve security and prosperity for its citizens. But when it comes to world politics, such progressive changes are not possible. They are not possible because there is no world government. There is no superior authority to which all states, all sovereign states subject themselves to. Therefore, when it comes to international relations, progressive changes are not possible. In this respect, they are very different from liberal internationalists who believed that international cooperation is possible, who believed that international government is possible, that with the help of organizations like League of Nations or United Nations, the relations between states can be managed, the conflicts can be resolved, and international peace can be achieved. But realists do not. They reject all these notions which were propounded by liberal internationalists or by the idealists during the First World War, before the First World War, and after the First World War. The most important classical realist thinker was Thucydides. Thucydides, who was a Greek thinker, he believed that there is an inevitable competition and conflict between the Greek city-states and the non-Greek city empires. So, for example, the Persian Empire was the foremost non-Greek empire with which the Greek city-states came into conflict. He also believes, Thucydides also believes, that not all Greek city-states are equal. Among the Greek city-states, there are some like Athens and Sparta, which are powerful, which are dominant, which can be considered as great powers, and there are others, many others, who are weaker than these. So, this inequality is very natural among Greek city-states. Just as individuals are unequal, the states are also unequal, but there is a fundamental difference. The difference is that whereas the sovereign state is there to mediate the conflict of interest between individuals, there is no sovereign authority which can govern the relations among states and between states. He also believes that there is limited choice and there is a limited scope or sphere within which the states can really operate, the states can maneuver. Thucydides maintains that foresight, prudence, caution, judgment, intelligent course of action, these are the core determinants of the behavior of states. Unless the states act in accordance with foresight, prudence, caution and judgment, they will not be able to secure themselves and they will not be able to survive, they will not be able to ensure security and prosperity of their people. On political ethics, Thucydides believes that political ethics basically concerns foresight, prudence, caution and judgment. These are the characteristics of political ethics. There is, and here he makes a distinction between private morality and principle of justice. He believes that private morality, in private moralities, individuals can be guided by truthfulness, can be guided by principles which we call as moral principle, not to steal, not to harm others. These can be principles of private morality, but when it comes to state conduct, these cannot be important determinants. Thucydides is known for his discussion, his theories, which were based on the Peloponnesian War, which was fought sometimes between 431 and 404 BC. In his writings on Peloponnesian War, Thucydides talks about a discussion which takes place between the leaders of a powerful state like Athens and a weak state like Melos. For the Melians, for the rulers of Melos, for them justice would consist of respect for their honor and dignity as an independent state. So, this is for a weak state like Melos. But according to Thucydides, for a strong state like Athens, justice is not equal treatment, because states are not equal. So, justice according to Thucydides depends upon the situation of a state. Justice for a strong state is different. Justice for a weak state is different. He recognizes, Thucydides recognizes the relative strength and weakness of states, and he believes that justice will have to be based on the relative strength and weakness of states. And the states need to adapt their behavior to this reality of unequal power distribution. So, power politics, security and survival are the core concerns of Thucydides. In our next lecture, we will discuss some other important realist thinkers, mainly in the modern period in the last 500 years. Thank you very much.